Hey guys, Jeeps here, and welcome back to Tribes Ascend. So, we have another update for everyone today. That's right, the Marksman update has gone live, bringing with it 3 new items for everyone's favorite sniper, the Sentinel, as well as a new primary for the Pathfinder, and a new secondary for the Soldier. Of course, in addition to a host of other balance changes and tweaks like that. But first, I feel we should dive into what the Sentinel got, because this is the Marksman update, and it just makes sense. So let's head on over to classes. Loadout A, I guess, sure, change tribe, because why would we want to look at the other one? This is the real Sentinel. So, for primary weapon, we got this lovely little beauty here, the SAP-20, or SAP-20, take your pick. This is actually a variant of the phase rifle, which, as you can see from the little bars at the top, which really don't tell you any useful information, does the highest damage, but has the lowest fire rate and clip size. Well, it's actually saying it has the same clip size, but I believe it does actually have slightly less. Now, this thing has a clip size of 2 starting out, and while it does do a lot of damage, it does more than 500 a shot. We'll look at the actual numbers later, as always. It has a very, very slow refire rate because it uses a very large chunk of energy to fire. Now, much like the regular phase rifle, it uses your energy to fire in addition to having ammo, but does not have the loading recharge bar like the BXT-1 and the BXT-1A have. So it does require a bit of energy management, but in general, the phase rifle I think is considered to be a little bit better than the BXT-1, because I know they've nerfed and tweaked them back and forth. I don't know where it stands right now. I don't play this class at all. This thing has a very slow refire rate, very high damage, and very limited clip size. Now, moving on to secondary weapons, will we finally get something that means Sentinels will use something other than the Falcon? Well, I can't answer that, but what I can tell you is we have another shotgun, the accurized shotgun, because that's a strange thing to call it. Now, this is a shotgun with less damage overall than most of the other shotguns, but much, much less spread. So it actually is reasonably accurate at range. You can still, get maybe not all 8 of the pellets to hit, but you can get 5 or 6 of them to hit, and maybe still doing the top damage per pellet, which is about 70 at optimal range. Well, not about, it is exactly 70 at optimal range. Now, this could be kind of nice, but I don't know if this will be replacing the Falcon anytime soon. This thing is incredible, as everyone knows. And I know they've tweaked and nerfed it and all the automatics from time to time, but as far as I can tell, this weapon is still ridiculous. But, I don't know. Shotgun, that's not a shotgun. The shotgun is pretty cool, and I mean, shotguns are cool in games anyway, and this one being a bit more usable and more respectable range, coupled with the fact that, yes, it is a hit scan weapon, so it is quite forgiving, especially even compared to the other hit scan weapons, being that it's a shotgun. I don't know, it could see some popularity. We're going to have to see. Plus, it looks kind of cool. Okay, it looks kind of like the battle rifle, or the assault rifle, I believe, from Halo. But whatever. The last thing we need is someone in the comments going on about how everything's a Halo ripoff again. We got that enough with the mercenary skin for the Raider. 100 dislikes just happened right there. Lastly, we have a new belt item. It's another mine. So, we didn't get a new grenade. It's not a new claymore. It's a thing called a motion mine. Now, I haven't actually been able to try these out yet because I'm probably not going to buy them because I don't play Sentinel. And you can't really test these out in the firing range mode, as we'll see in a little bit. But these work really cool. They don't have the focused direction that claymores do, so you can come at them from any side and they'll explode. However, you have to be going 120 kilometers an hour or higher to trigger them. It also has a slightly smaller range, but covers a larger area due to being a 360 degree instead of a cone. This could be pretty cool. I could see these being pretty great. They are almost exclusively a capper defense weapon, because if you're not going, admittedly 120 is not very fast, but unless you're going 120 or higher, or it might be higher than 120, that's actually what it says, I guess, you don't set it off at all. So you're not going to be able to catch an infiltrator like you can with a Doombringer's mines, or even a claymore. Though again, claymores are relatively easy to avoid because you can see the arc, and it's beside the point. I don't know. We'll have to see if these take off. They are kind of hard to test out outside of actually purchasing them and trying them, however. As I said, we'll demonstrate that as well when we go into target practice and take a look at how it all works. Now, what did the other two classes get? Let's hop over to, let's just start with the soldier. Why not? Now, like I said, we got a new secondary weapon here. So let's click that and spare spin fuser. That's right. Soldiers can now take a spin fuser as a secondary weapon. Now, it is weaker than the regular spin fuser. It has the same radius, same impact, impulse, whatever you want to call it, but does do slightly less splash damage and quite a lot less direct hit damage. As opposed to 910, it does, I believe, 660. Again, we'll look at the exact numbers in a minute. Damage on a direct hit, and it does slightly less on the splash. Close splash does, I think, 50 less than the regular spin fuser. However, this gives soldiers a spin fuser and gassed or assault rifle at the same time, which means soldiers can now have the assault rifle or gassed rifle and be able to disc jump, which is significantly more effective than trying to jump with the thumper, because frankly, the thumper just doesn't do as much impulse as a spin fuser does. Plus, you get a spin fuser type weapon, you know, with its keep going in a straight line, its longer range, all that good stuff, at the same time as an automatic weapon. This could be huge for soldiers. Absolutely huge. We're gonna have to see how this plays out, but given the popularity of Gast's rifle and a thumper already, I can't see this not being an almost must-have weapon. Because frankly, its damage is roughly the same as the thumper weapons, similar at least, but you get all the benefits of it being a spin fuser. This could be a game changer for the soldier. Now lastly, speaking of possible game changers, or at least something people have been clamoring for a long time, the Pathfinder got the blink fuser. Now this weapon is identical to the light spin fuser, except, as you can see, it has 100% projectile inheritance. Your projectile will inherit 100% of your speed. Now, this means A, you can launch a spin fuser shot going at a ludicrously fast speed at someone. Admittedly, that will make it a bit harder to hit. But B, where this is really important, because this can come up with the light spin fuser, a Pathfinder going fast enough will hit themselves with their light spin fuser if they fire it, because the inheritance will still mean the spin fuser disc is going slower than they are if they fire it in front of them. They will shoot themselves. This will finally no longer be a problem. Again, I could see, and this is what they've mentioned too, having that 100% inheritance will catch some people off guard if they're not going at those ridiculous speeds. Because it does change up the way the weapon will work, because you're not going to be used to having a track and the projectile going that much quicker than it used to. Wow, that was a really cumbersome sentence. I apologize there. But, as far as I can tell, if you are, you know, a really good Pathfinder and Capper and stuff, who's going at really, really high speeds, you'll never use the light spin fuser again. That said, if you really, really like the dueling spin fuser, which again is generally, I think, better than the light spin fuser too, you might have some more competition there. But if you like the light spin fuser, and you're a really, really good capper, and you really don't want to be shooting yourself in the face by accident, I think the blink fuser is now your go-to weapon. Why would you take the light over it? Unless you just really like, what is it, 50% projectile inheritance, 75%? I don't remember. Something like that. This is cool. This is great. This will maybe be an experiment into extending projectile inheritance for things. Guess we'll see. So, with that, let's hop over to our firing range. Let's look at some numbers, and we'll discuss some of the balance tweaks and other things that have gone into this patch. Alright, so we're going to start off with the soldier, because frankly, I just want to shoot 2 spin fusers in quick succession. Now, we went over what the numbers were exactly. Let's start with, this is the regular spin fuser here, not the spare, just so you can see the standard spin fuser numbers first. You get 910 on a direct, and a close splash is 650. This goes down to kind of the mid-300s range, which I believe the spare also goes down to around the mid-300s. It's hard to get the exact thing, and I'll be honest, I can look up the formula and do all the math, but I really don't want to. Forgive me! Also, the wiki isn't updated with all these numbers for the new weapons yet, so I can't do it that way either! But yeah, you're getting 910 on a direct, 650 on a close, going down to the mid-300s. Now, spare spin fuser. Sorry, heavy practice, you deserve this, I'm sure. You get 660 on a close, which is 250 less damage. Or, sorry, not a close. On a direct hit, that is 250 less damage than the standard spin fuser. And then on a close, only 600. However, there's an added bonus to it being only 600, in that it means it's less self-damage to you. And that's always a good thing. So that extra 50 less damage helps, given this weapon is largely here for mobility, let's be honest. And now you do have the option of doing stuff like that. I smell the new Pez dispenser. I may have to try this out at some point. Next up is the Pathfinder, and this is just to confirm this, because this weapon is meant to be identical to the light spin fuser except for the inheritance. Still does 770 on a direct hit. Still does 550 on a close blast. It's the same gun with 100% inheritance. I'm not going to demonstrate that because I'm terrible at going fast. I don't know what to do. I play fatties. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's move on to the Sentinel, because that's what everyone's waiting out for anyway, isn't it? It is. Alright, and at long last, the Sentinel. So first of all, let's show off the SAP 20, shall we? So on a direct hit, before damage fall off, using 100 energy, well, it uses about 95 to do its full damage, you do 575 damage. That is actually quite a lot for a one-shot projectile. I mean, yeah, it's a sniper rifle, but that's pretty heavy damage. Now, if we were to fire it in as quick a succession as we can, not waiting on energy recharge, and obviously this is without the energy recharge pack, you get 575 and 190. So you don't get much energy on that second one, and that is also the fastest this weapon can fire. And then you have to reload. If you have upgraded it, or you've used it enough, for it to upgrade, it does have a third shot. That is its second, I believe, experience unlock, is it gets a third shot in the clip. But very slow fire rate, very high energy cost, so the recycle rate on getting a big shot is very high. Definitely powerful, though. I can't imagine using this without the energy recharge pack, though, but I'm sure that might be standard for the phase rifle anyway. Again, I don't really know, because I don't play Sentinel at all. Now let's look at the shotgun, because I understand these. Look, we get a reflex sight. It doesn't matter at all, because there's no aim down sights in Tribes, but there's a reflex sight on this. Boom. Notice how I hit with, what was that, 5 or 6 pellets? Okay, only 3 that time. Okay, it's not a lot at this range, but they're still doing full damage. Reload a little. Not doing full damage. Not doing. Where's the full damage range? Here's the full damage window. Compare this to other shotguns, though. That's pretty respectable. The damage isn't awful, either. It's the lowest of any other shotgun, but I don't know. I could see this maybe getting some use. I know shotguns aren't the most popular weapons in this game, but I don't know. This is kind of cool. They're definitely satisfying. And it's got a decently sized clip. Admittedly, the same slow reload rate of everything but the auto shotgun. But hey, who knows? Let's stab this guy. Stabbing guys is fun in this game. Lastly, we have motion mines, and I'm pretty sure there's no one on this map I can test these against. Because you do not run 120 miles an hour. What about this guy? What's he doing? He's moving kind of quickly. You! Motion mines. Will you set that off? No. Now, this is what I mean. I can't really test these, and I haven't bought them. But in theory, I think they're kind of awesome. Who knows in practice? If you've had a chance to actually try these out, please, by all means, let me know. Now, on to the other additions in this patch. Now, let's start off with a nice easy one. They've added Crossfire, that's the map that target practice takes place on right here, to the Blitz lineup. So there's now a Blitz version of Crossfire, which is kind of awesome, because frankly, Blitz is actually a pretty cool game mode. I like it a lot, especially if you're playing on Vent or Skype or TeamSpeak or whatever with other people. Really fun game type. Nice to see some more maps on it. Hopefully they'll add a way to do roam map for the Blitz variants so you can practice in a way that you can see where all the flag stands are. Or just add an indicator for it, one of the two. Right now there's no way to practice on the Blitz variant, which means you can't say as a capper practice routes to the different maps, or just figure out what you're gonna, plan out strategies in advance, which is nice to be able to do. Nextly, just because this is hilarious in my opinion, the Rage perk has been changed again, because they'll never settle on what they want Rage to be, apparently. It still has the same basic idea of you get healed and energy back when someone grabs the flag, and you do get mass reduction. But now the flag actually has to leave the flag stand, at least that's what it indicates. It can't just be a grab, it actually has to make its way off the stand. How they are determining the stand, I guess, is on a per map basis. Who knows? And the way it now works is you still get healed and you get energy back. But you also get immunity to your first self-damage, as well as the reduced weight or mass. So you can pretty much get one really big disc jump. As soon as you do self-damage to yourself, you lose that buff. So you get one really big super disc jump, and it can help you chase. I believe they've also limited it so a capper cannot benefit from Rage. So that's good, I guess. I'm sure there was some weird, not exploit, but some weird trick people were using there. And lastly, let's get on to the most controversial, probably in my opinion, controversial change of this update. That is flag drag. So now there is pretty much, you get forced deceleration if you're carrying the flag and hit certain speeds. Now this is 300 kilometers an hour as a light, 275 as a medium, and 250 as a heavy. If you hit these speeds while carrying the flag, you will decelerate down to this speed at a fixed rate. I don't know what this exact fixed rate is. It is able to be changed on custom servers as well as disabled entirely. So if you play a lot on custom servers, you may not end up even having to worry about this because it can just be turned off. Or if you run one, you can turn this off, and that's great. But, I don't know, this seems like a weird change to add. In the official video, they say they added it due to a bunch of community feedback of wanting it. But in my personal experience, talking to cappers that I know, they are not thrilled with this change because, well, they could get well over 300 kilometers an hour on certain routes, and it's just that there isn't a point anymore because, or at least it seems like there won't be, because you're going to get decelerated down to 300. So weird change, not sure what provoked this other than, as they said, community suggestion. But I guess we'll see. If there's a big enough outcry, if this really was a quote-unquote community suggestion edition, there's a big outcry against it, we might see, oh, finally killed someone. We might see it removed, which I guess we'll see. I don't know. As a mostly heavy and medium player, this is never going to affect me because I rarely will ever have the flag. But I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Now, of course, there are a bunch of other tweaks and changes and additions. A whole bunch of balance things, tweaks. Most notably, if I were to mention the balance things, all of the shorter fuse grenades they added and accelerate have received some sort of nerf, as well as the proximity grenade. And the new technician kit, namely the TC-24 and the new turret, have received some buffs. Also, the repair kit has been fixed. Apparently, it was slightly bugged in that it was repairing at a faster rate based on server latency than it was meant to. So it no longer does that, which means it will appear to be a nerf, apparently, because it was causing it to repair faster than it should. Also, it can no longer be used to repair things through world geometry, with the exception of base turrets. This means you can no longer use it to repair something through a wall, again, with the exception of a base turret. This is because some of the base turrets are located in areas where you can't repair them any other way with the repair kit. So they can still be repaired generally through the floating platforms they're on, I'm guessing is what this would mean. Lastly, the game is now available in German, which is kind of cool. They made a big joke about this in the official patch notes video thing. The German language has been added. That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool indeed. I hit a rock! Oh, my body! Also, why do I have so much health? I don't know why I have so much health. Why do I have so much health? Oh, it's because I'm playing a soldier right now, aren't I? Crazy! Forgot target practice worked that way. Anyways, that is going to be it for now, my friends. As always, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. You know the deal. Again, if you have used motion mines, please let me know how they are doing for you. I'm very curious to hear about them in practice, as opposed to just thinking about them in theory. So that's it for now, my friends. As always, I have been Jeeps. I'm going to talk to you guys later. Hey guys, Jeeps here. I hope you enjoyed this video you just watched. You know, if you liked it, you really help me out by clicking that like button down below, or hell, you could even click subscribe if you haven't already. Now, if you want to see some more stuff, got a couple other videos on the screen. I'll take you to playlists with some series in them. Should be pretty good. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and hope to see you around for the next one. Later on, my friends. Later on.